Giddy up. Round 2. Game day for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Welcome to the show. Real Kyper and Bourne. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and Jake Schultz. Jake the Snake. We go large with the Toronto Maple Leafs this hour. Our Leaf edition live on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus on this Monday. This easy Monday. Shout out to our friend Jeremy.
Looking good.
Over at Easy Monday.
Yeah.
Who's a huge fan of the Real Kyper and Bourne show and threw us a T-shirt or two.
Is that golf shirt also?
It is. It's an
nice.
Easy Monday as well.
Nice stuff, Kip.
He's a big fan. So I'm driving, or I'm not driving. I'm walking. I went to the gym today at Yonge and St. Clair.
Nice.
See my buddy Tony.
How often do you go to the gym?
Once or twice a week.
Really?
Yeah.
Who figures? You look good.
Well, it's the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And this guy starts honking his horn at me, and he's waving me over, and I'm ready to go. Like, dude, what's your problem?
Right.
And he's waving me over, and he's honking at me, and I get in there, and he's like, "You'll never believe what I'm listening to right now," and it's our podcast, and it's your voice. And he's listening, and then, like, I don't know, I assume his wife is calling him, and he's hitting the ignore button. And I'm like, you don't want to take that call? He's like, oh, my God. Carmelo, I think his name was.
Carmelo.
Carmelo.
He's going to play with the Raptors.
He is
Carmelo.
pumped right now for our show today. And the Toronto Maple Leafs facing the Florida Panthers in Game 1 at home. So, Sammy, are you ready for this? Are you over your feeling of relief out of the first round? You're ready to attack round 2?
How are you guys feeling? I have a very interesting sort of feeling and sense today.
Mm-hmm.
How are you guys feeling?
About the Leafs' chances to win
No,
this
just
series,
in general,
or
like-
generally?
Because I think last round was great and then as scary as it possibly can get for a few days. And, you know, it's a much different feel going into this than I had even in the first round. I don't know. It's a sense of calm almost. How are you guys feeling?
I didn't get out of the first round what you got.
Okay.
At the end of the day, they won 4-2 in wins.
Mm-hmm.
And although it's unfortunate that the two losses kind of crept in all this bad past feelings.
It's one loss.
Sorry?
Game 4 was a normal hockey game.
Yeah.
Game 5 was where the ghosts came.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is, it for me, it just played out the way it was supposed to play.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is the start of the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is sort of a change from 2 years ago when they went into the second round to play Florida, where a lot of the vibes, if you guys remember, was they finally slayed the dragon. Now they're going to start rolling. And this is because Florida was actually down to Boston that year, had the miraculous come from behind.
Yeah.
We didn't look at them as
Florida.
the defending Stanley Cup champions. They almost lost in round 1, and we kind of thought they were just, Florida. But this year it feels like they know what they're in for. No surprises.
This is the dragon they have to slay.
Right. And so it doesn't feel to me, Kip, that like they're going into it with this, they're the favorite and they should beat this team or whatever. It feels like everyone in Toronto, and we talked about this before the show, all your friends, I would say 90% of people
which
say.
we barely do.
Right. But 90% of people say Florida's going to win this.
But you asked me, have you talked to anybody that believes that the Leafs can win?
Yeah.
And I said, no, I can't really find anybody.
And that changes the vibe.
That, for me, it's a very freeing feeling where the Leafs, I mean, we can get into some of the Matthew Tkachuk stuff later about not being underdogs and all this, whatever. The Leafs are clear underdogs in this series.
Yeah.
And myself, I know all my buddies, everyone that I talk to thinks that the Leafs, there's a couple idiots out there that think the Leafs are going to win. But it's a freeing feeling.
Are you calling them idiots because they think the Leafs are going to win or because they're your friends?
My friends.
Okay.
But I do think that people are just kind of like, yeah, well, we're not supposed to win. We've seen them lose a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
They lose again to Florida. I mean, it's not the end of the world. But if they win, hey, great. Like, I really do feel like it's not apathy because it's the second round of the playoff. It's excitement. But people are sort of reserved to if they do lose, it's not the end of the world kind of thing. As opposed to losing in the first round to Ottawa or Boston or whatever. It's a different feeling.
And the different feeling still has to come, JB, from what we experienced over 82 regular season games, that there's a different feel to the way they play, the style that they play, and it should be better than what we experienced 2 years ago with this team.
Yes.
So I don't believe that they're going to win this series, but I certainly believe that they have a better shot at winning than they ever did 2 seasons ago.
Yeah. And I agree. You know, what's crazy about 2 seasons ago is they didn't play well, right? They didn't get the best out of some guys, whatever. But you look back at those games and the scores were, I think, like 4-2, 3-2, 2-1. It was
that dug them in the hole, 3-0.
Yeah, they ended up, they lost every game. They never scored they scored 2 goals in every game in the 5 games. But my point was they went to overtime twice. They won a game. Like, they kind of hung around even though they weren't the better team. I do feel like a little bit more preparation, expectation, whatever. I'm not as sure that this is like Florida's winning this series. I got us as a pick 'em. You know, I feel like there's a lot of good things that the Leafs have going for them, including the defense are better, the goaltending's better. These are 2 good teams, boys.
Yeah, like I think the Toronto Maple Leafs are eligible to win this playoff series. I think they're allowed to do that. Yeah. Like, I do think that there's a world where, you know, they get some great goaltending, the Stars perform, they can win this series. But like we said, they're big underdogs. Panthers, I mean, I printed off the lines for the Panthers for you guys today. Their forward group is stacked.
It's loaded.
It's stacked. Up and down there. It's on one of the pages there, maybe on the back page if you guys can find it.
I got it.
It is a stacked group of forwards where you picture who the Leafs' third line is going up against what that third line is, and then you look at the top 2 lines for them. It's a daunting task. But you get to the final 8 teams in the playoffs.
You play good teams.
You're playing a really good team, but this is probably the best team. The Leafs are probably playing the best team in the league.
One of the things, go ahead, Kip.
I was just going to say, I don't have them as a pick 'em like you right now. I do have Florida as the favorites, but I believe that tonight and Wednesday could turn it into a pick 'em series, right?
Yeah.
These 2 first opening games will tell us everything we need to know whether or not the Leafs truly have a shot at winning this series.
Yeah. And, you know, Florida's got a record. If you, so like getting the first goal, getting a lead, playing in that position is going to be so big. Florida's record since the 2023 playoffs, when they lead after the first period, is like 23-0. And when they lead after 2 periods, it's 15-0, or I might have those numbers flipped. But like, this is a team that when they get leads, they win, they put you away, they're pros. Sorry, that's 15-0 first period, 22-0 second period. So they put teams away in games. They put teams away in series. I agree with you, Kip. You can't leave Toronto down 2-0 and have me say that the Leafs have a prayer.
Yeah.
Not a
I'm okay
prayer.
with a split.
Split would be okay. You'd be in the series.
Split would definitely take them into Florida, feeling like they can win a game there. And I think if the Leafs were to come home in Game 5 with 2-2,
good shot.
I think people would feel really good about anything can happen in a best-of-3 right now.
Yeah.
No more home Game 5s with a chance to do something great.
No.
No, home Game 5s have not treated this roster well.
There.
No, let's not talk about home Game 5
We'll
yet.
focus on Game 1.
Thank you.
And we'll focus on Craig Berube with our first Kippers Clipper of the week on being underdogs after winning the Atlantic Division.
Oh.
Well, anytime you're playing the Stanley Cup champions, you're going to be the underdog, right? They've proven they're a great team over the last few years, and, you know, they are a real good team. They're a very good team. We're a good team, too. And like I said, we're approaching this business like we got to go out and do our job and play the way we can.
I like the thing where he says, we're a good team, too. That was one thing I was going to say a few minutes ago, where it's like when 3/4 of the league is golfing, and you're down to 8 teams, it's no longer, where is this team bad? Where are we going to have this massive advantage? They're not bad anywhere, but it's, are they as good as our best? And the Leafs' best, the elite players that they have, is pretty damn good. And depends, if you put the Leafs decor side by side with this Florida decor, I think I take the Leafs. You got Belinsky's and Schmidt as their third pair tonight. Kulikov and Mikkola, Seth Jones. No, listen, it's good.
I like Mikkola a lot.
Yeah, I like Mikkola a lot too, but
Scary guy.
You know, I just named 4 guys and you liked one.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I'm just saying the Leafs have good players too, and they're not going to be bad anywhere. Is your best better than their best?
Yeah. Do you want to listen to Matthew Tkachuk's?
Will your team play their best?
On his thoughts about being underdog, Matthew Tkachuk?
Yes, absolutely.
Clip 1, please.
Ray was just saying that anytime you face the defending champs, you're the underdog. I'm just wondering how comfortable you guys feel like in that favor role.
I don't think we are. I mean, we're on the road here to start, so they obviously had a better year than we did. So we're going to relish that role and hopefully come up with a good start.
Intel from Brady?
Yeah. Yep.
They're good at what they do, right?
It's an underdog off, boys. They're trying to toss it back and forth here. Bulletin board material. Who's an underdog? They had a better year. Blah, blah, blah. I love this stuff. Ultimately, it doesn't matter, but I love it.
Drop, all that
Goes away.
goes away, and it's just outside noise, as Austin refers to it.
Yeah, we got
not just him. Coach does it too.
Yeah. No.
It's a team mentality thing.
Yeah.
That does that.
We got Craig Berube talking about home ice starting here, and we talked about not necessarily needing 2, but you certainly can't get 0. Let's hear home ice as an advantage.
Well, I mean, home ice. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I really don't know. I really don't have an answer for you with home ice. I think that, our team, when I look at our team, we were pretty consistent at home and on the road. And I think that's very important because you need to go on the road and you need to win games. But, we played extremely well at home too. We've been a real good team at home too. So, you don't need to change your game home or road. You want to play the same game. I think that's really important. I know we're at home in front of our fans, but we want to play our game that's going to make us successful, whether it's at home or on the road.
I do believe it's important, though, that first goals, leads, it's fragile home base.
The first part of that clip, Derek, if you can play that first part of that clip, just again.
I mean, home ice. I mean,
tells you all you need to know. It's not an advantage.
Yeah.
No.
It's not an advantage.
You can't lose this crowd is my message to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't, it's okay getting down 1-0. It's okay even losing 1 out of 2 games here. Often believe that the majority of the fan base can appreciate sometimes not if you lose, but how you lose.
Of course.
And as long as they don't lose them with their attention to detail, their effort, their competitiveness, they should be fine at home.
Here's why underdog status matters. It's because when the score is close, the team that's the underdog is winning. Right? That's you get good vibes going. We're hanging in there. And you start to form this belief. And that, for me, is what Florida has to be wary of with the Leafs is if that team starts to believe they're up a game in the series or they're in a game late, it's not going to be like, oh, it's not inevitable that we lose this thing like everyone says. And I think you'll get some belief out of them. So we also have Maurice on the same topic.
There is a way that, Florida can just take the life out of you pretty early. Where if they have a convincing game 1 victory here tonight, I'm sure that's what Maurice is telling them. Being like, you can break their spirit pretty easily, which is a sad thing to say, but it's kind of the way it goes. But.
Not a ton Paul Maurice, Kyper's Clippers today. What's going on? You staying away from him or he's just not into it as of yet?
I can't believe me and my boy Paul are back at this.
You must have been cutting this feeling like not again.
Not again. But he was pretty reserved today, I would say. Like I didn't think he was full. He didn't give you the full Maurice today, I wouldn't say. Like he talked a little bit about, the kid stuff with Marner having a kid and like we're kind of in that same window where we have lots of guys having kids. He was very jovial today, not really in his fully form, but we have a couple. Like the playing in Toronto stuff's interesting. So you play clip 1 for playing in Toronto.
Well, the excitement of the situation, the playoffs is different than the regular season. it's exciting when you come in here. I think players come into here and there's a lot of family for a lot of them, but then this is a completely different feel, the energy. It's a fun time of year, obviously, to be involved in games. And then the way the playoffs are structured, these are all division rivals. So we have a history with each other now, and it makes the story, I think, more interesting.
Oh, that was really boring.
Buddy, I'm telling you.
Really
That was the
boring.
tone all morning. That was his tone. So
That's not the Paul Maurice we know and
I
love.
know.
I mean, listen, he knows how long he's got here. This is his dream scenario because there is no one better, maybe Cooper, at working the media, changing the narratives in his favor, saying stuff that people take and clip and use and talk about. Like, he's elite at working in this market in terms of like I mean, listen to the play clip 2, please.
This is on Berube?
On Berube
Well,
Leafs.
personnel would be one thing. I mean, quite a bit different looking team than they were just on different names on the back. And I think there's more patience in their game in that, and maybe in the past it was an attack mindset kind of offensively all the time. And now they're more patient. They'll put more pucks deep. They'll be more patient with the pucks out. So a bit more, I would say maybe a bit more of a mature game.
There you go. So he's really not biting
Got it
yet.
figured. No.
And part of it, to me, if I'm a Leaf fan, like, it's a bit more respect for the opponent than in years past, where he's just like not really into giving bulletin board material. He's not going full Paul Maurice before the series. He's not like, I don't know. It just felt like a different tone from him listening to him this morning, that he's got a little bit more respect for the opponent. That's maybe what I'm reading too much into it.
So I got 4 things that this series is going to come down to, and I know we're going to talk about all of them at some point, but I got Leafs power play versus the Florida penalty kill. Florida penalty kill, they take the most penalties of any team in the NHL. It was dynamite in round 1. The Stars being good for the Leafs, the goalies, Stolarz to outplay Bobrovsky, and this meanness element, which is the thing everyone associates with Florida, is the grit and wear you down and jaw and rats, and can the Leafs hang with a team like this? And Sam, I know you got that clip from Craig Berube, and he was asked about this meanness element. Let's hear that.
Clip 7.
Compared to most teams, they play a meaner game than most teams play, or a harder game.
They play a hard game. I agree. They're, they forecheck hard and they're physical and they're in your face the whole game. I don't necessarily think it's mean. I mean, that's just their game. I think our guys, we're a physical team too. And, we got to go out and be physical ourselves. We got to initiate as much as possible. And yeah, you're going to get banged around, and they're going to come, and they're going to hit, and they're going to do all, that's just part of it. And I thought, Ottawa did the same thing to us. They were physical, they were honest, they were hitting, and I thought we handled it well.
Kip, how'd I do with PPPK?
Yeah.
Stars, goalies, meanness.
I'll tell you the one thing that I'm most intrigued and may find out maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes that would tie into all of yours is how is this series going to be officiated? Okay.
Good one.
And that's what people really should be looking at. What if they're mean? How mean will they let them be?
Right.
How tight are you going to be on the most penalized team in the league? Does the officiating favor the Leafs or will it favor the Florida Panthers? I'm still seeing some calls, boys, the last few games where I'm like, I don't really know about that call.
The call on Drury in the third period of the Colorado-Dallas game was a crime.
If they call it tight,
Leafs advantage.
If huge advantage to the Leafs if they call this series tight, and then you allow that power play to back them off. That's the only way you're going to get the Florida Panthers to back off how mean they are, is how tight will the officials, how much rope will they give them?
Yeah.
to be mean.
So one of my favorite pieces of like analytics work I've seen, Dom Lucian of The Athletic did penalties called per game and per round. In the first round, penalties, there's a lot of them in game 1, 6, 7 per game, 5, 6 game 2, and it just goes down towards game 7 where there's like an average like 3 penalties called per round. And as you get deeper in the playoffs, they call a little bit less. Same arc of calls, and until the finals where they try to call as few as possible. My point is, you're going to get the most calls in the first couple games.
Yes.
That is your best chance to make Florida hesitant to take penalties. And if you score on the power plays in game 1 or 2, maybe they go, boys, we got to be disciplined. And that would be key to get them to back off the meanness factor.
I do believe, though, the league is okay with Florida having this bully.
Oh, it's a great element of hockey, right?
It's a great element of hockey. They don't want to lose that. If they are mean or nastier than the other team, it's okay, especially in this era of 3 fights in 9 seconds to 4 nations, right?
And that the league saw what that generated. Everyone's on like
exactly.
talk shows at night, and they're like, do more of that.
More?
Again.
The more physical it is, the more controversy there is around hits and not hits. It's okay. The league's comfortable being uncomfortable with the Florida Panthers pushing that envelope. But if the Leafs can get a couple of calls in their favor, they do have a chance to have that power play back them off a little bit.
Yeah.
So how we'll find out. We'll find out. There's going to be first few shifts, first 10 minutes. You're going to get a feel of how hard Florida comes after you, and where that cut line is of no, you're off the ice for 2 minutes.
What could be an advantage for them is Florida chose Kucherov to attack on the power play. Kucherov plays the flank, and every time he got the puck, even if he got it clean, they just went at him. And so he didn't have time to do that thing where he sets up and has a good time and all that. The Leafs' advantage is they would probably target Marner in that way because Matthews doesn't handle it. Marner handles it. But Marner's up top. And if they want to come all the way out, you could stretch out that PK a little. Like there could be some room on the inside in the bumper for guys.
But they will target those guys.
For sure.
Well, yeah.
They've played them before. They've had success against them before. Are they ready for it this time around?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to try to take them out.
Beyond the power play, just they're going to be on those two guys.
Every time they're on the ice, they're going to challenge them.
Ekblad literally threw a flying elbow into a guy's head and knocked him out of the seat. Like, they're going to try to inflict pain.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the last time these two teams played in the playoff series. Matthew Bennett just straight up, suplexed Matthew Nyes into the ice and took him out.
Gudis on Kampf. Mark Stahl threw some greasy ones.
They are a dirty, dirty team. And they are going to continue to be dirty. And it's going to be like you said. Are the refs going to call it? Are they going to let them get away with it? Are there going to be suspension conversations in this series? Probably. I wouldn't even mention Marchand. Marchand is on this team.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
third line.
Which is
good.
An incredibly good third line. Like Lucerain and Lundell and Marchand versus whatever third line the Leafs are going to put out there.
It's the biggest advantage in the series, probably, when you look at Domi, McMahon.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll try to match the lot in line against those guys as much as they can, as opposed to, but I really am nervous for that factor, where as a Leaf fan, I've watched Florida get away with murder for many, many series.
And they will be murdering.
Like, I mean, look at last year, again, Bennett, literally flying punch into the face of Marchand, knocked him out, nothing. No suspension, they get away with way more than any other team does. And as a Leaf fan with guys with stars who don't necessarily love that, that's the part I'm most nervous about, is that they can get away with this stuff.
Last time they played in playoffs, Mitch Marner led the core four in points with 3. Matthews had 2. Willie had 3 as well,
In 5 games?
Tavares had 1.
Yeah.
So no one scored more than 3 points in 5 games.
Do you break it down, if you were just to focus on the forwards for a second here, is it as simple as saying that Matthews has to outplay Barkov, Marner has to outplay Reinhart, Willie has to outscore, I don't know,
Bennett and Tkachuk combined?
Yeah. I mean, can you break it down like that?
I think you have to cancel those guys out and hope you win the margins.
See, I don't think their margins are better. I think they have to be better than those guys.
They have to be better.
Yeah.
I agree.
I've never seen Matthews be better than Barkov.
Can McMahon
Head-to-head.
take out, cancel Verhaeghe? Is it Nyes?
Yeah, Nyes is a different element. Like that's someone who can do some of the Sam Bennett type stuff, and I know that's a super high bar for him, but
Like to me, Nyes and McMahon have to be the key in this series on the left side for the Leafs because they are big and heavy, and they can lean on people.
This
go
year,
ahead.
But they have to go to another level.
yeah, just in terms of like offense, we shouldn't undersell the fact that like Florida's leading point getter had 80 points in Sam Reinhart, and then 70 for Barkov, 57 for Tkachuk. Like Verhaeghe's 53. The Leafs' top 4 guys get numbers, and so breaking even with those guys would not be good enough. And when I know it's a high bar and these guys have the experience and all that, but like if we're sitting here going, well, you can't ask him to be as good as Carter Verhaeghe. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
So there's just
McMahon's going to have a series of his life.
if he looks
For-
like he
to
did
give
in
the
Game
Leafs a
6
chance.
against Ottawa, I would be happy. Go in on the forecheck, win the puck for your line, play in the offensive zone.
But that's against Ottawa.
Sure was. Sure was.
I just don't. The thing that I really don't want to see, and I just don't want the Leafs to look scared of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And in games past, and I didn't watch the last game these two teams played. I was enjoying the beach in Hawaii, but I heard it was horrendous. And I heard that they were never in the game. They didn't want to be in the battle. It's a different time. It's the second round of the playoffs. I understand that. But I think the fear is that they hit early and the Leafs kind of go away. That they don't want to be in it. They don't want to be in the fight against these guys.
That's the dark,
That's what, we're talking about positives
worst
and
case
negatives.
scenario.
Like that does worry me.
The X factor also could be a Max Domi because he can play different ways. We've seen a side to him that could look like a Florida Panther,
I'm excited for him in
right?
this series.
And
He threw the biggest hit of the year against
he-
the Panthers on
is
Verhaeghe.
he a
beat
guy
the
like,
wheels off Schmidt.
would
Same
you
play.
would you like to go see him challenge a Bennett? And I'm not saying in a fight, but just shoulder to shoulder, or a scrum. If it push comes to shove and it's a fight, is that the look that was missing 2 years ago?
What's hard is it's like they're just not. He plays in such an admirable way, but he's not in that weight class, right? Like he's not the size of Sam Bennett. I know he's got more fighting the dog than anyone per 60, but
taking Sam off the ice for 5 or 7 minutes
Sure.
is a win for Max and the
anyone
Leafs.
he takes in that group of people in that team that would do it is a win.
Kachuk, right?
Go Tkachuk, go Bennett. Anyone you can get. Marchand,
Get
bring
them
him with
off the ice.
you. Yeah, he should be out of his mind in this series. If he is a quiet series, I would be disappointed.
Marchand, pull someone off the ice.
Yeah. That's
Is there anyone
gonna
else?
be his role. For Florida?
No, for the Leafs. Anyone else can do that? I know Max can.
Like
Can anyone else?
Well, McCabe on D certainly can.
Put
Benoit
Reeves in there for a
can.
game. He'll do it for you.
You wouldn't dare.
I'm joking.
Okay,
No,
don't
but-
joke.
Benoit, McCabe, maybe
Serious
Lorenz,
time.
Nyes, McMahon, Domi. That's all I got for you.
Yeah, I know. And that's why it's probably best that they focus on the things that they can make themselves most successful.
But
Like,
you go through this lineup.
McMahon has to drive, his speed has to show,
Mhm.
and then he's got to take it to the net.
You go through this lineup of Florida's though. Like Verhaeghe's not like that, and Barkov's not like that, and Reinhart's not like that. Nor is Rodriguez. So it's Bennett, Tkachuk. The two Finns on the third line are not like that. Marchand is. So they don't have 12 guys that are like that. The one thing I will note, and I'm see if I can find this on my phone really quick, the guys who have left there over the past couple years, Gudis, Montour, Cousins, Stahl, Lomberg, they've had a lot of grease that is not there. And I'm not saying they're not still greasy, because their core is greasy.
Yes.
But they had a lot of surrounding grease that I'm not sure is as greasy now.
Well, we got Bill Lindsay coming up after the break, right?
Yeah, we got.
We'll
couple-
get his thoughts on where Florida is compared to that team you're talking about a few years ago, even last year.
Probably should talk about the goaltending a little bit here before we go to.
Yeah.
It is one of those well, it needs to be good.
Round one goalie stats. Sergei Bobrovsky, 4 wins, 2.21 goals against, 901 save percentage. Anthony Stolarz, 4 wins, 2.21 goals against average, 901 save percentage.
Wow. Look at that.
Exactly the same numbers, and that's courtesy of Luke Fox on Twitter. So thanks, Luke, for that.
You hope that few days off here for Stolarz has him reset, and he can still be that goalie that you've seen all season long. So, I talked about Joseph Woll at some point making an appearance here. If it is, it's going to have to come off of maybe a tough start for him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 2 tough starts. I don't know where that cut line would be for Berube in a series like this, but
I hope it's early.
You got to think that if the Leafs have any chance to extend this, at some point we're going to see Joseph Woll. But right now, it's don't fix what ain't broken.
Yeah, but you can totally see a world where a healthy and fresh Joe Woll comes in and is very good. It's an advantage of theirs, and I think, Kip, if Stolarz is bad tonight, I think go to Woll in game 2.
We did see signs. We did see signs of maybe a guy that maybe had looked a little tired towards the latter part of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And it certainly was bending, but it didn't break by any stretch here. So I see why you're going back to Stolarz here.
Yeah. No lineup changes for them.
Over under 1.5 games for Joseph Woll in this series.
Over.
Over.
Yeah.
Everyone says that
2.5?
Florida's the favorite. If you lose a couple games, I think it's
2.5.
Can I get 3? 3.5.
Yeah,
3.5, 4. Do I have 4?
I think there's a better chance of seeing Joseph Woll in a game 5 or game 6.
Yeah, like if they lose tonight, I don't think Joseph Woll starts game 2, does he?
It depends.
I'm with
it,
you.
yeah, it just
what are we
depends
talking about?
on what you see out of Stolarz.
But there's no way Berube hasn't been seeing what we've all been seeing.
For sure.
Right? Like, I mean, he's been good. He was good enough for them to win. I gave you those numbers. They're not world-beating numbers, but he was good enough to beat Ottawa. But he probably saw the slippage. I mean, that goal that he lets in against Perron in Game 6, third period, probably shook him to his core. But I want to believe.
Distance wrister was worse.
Yeah?
These have to be amongst the hardest decisions coaches have to make, but they are tough, and you are paid to make them. And we'll get into this a little bit more in our national show, but, Connor Hellebuyck at times, I think Scott Arniel probably should have pulled him, didn't. I know it turned out great for him when it was all said and done in Game 7, but, that's when you put your cojones on the line right now as a head coach, when you have to make those tough decisions on who gives you the best chance to win at a particular time.
The only thing Berube has going for him that Scott Arniel might not have had is Berube can go, I don't even know which of my guys is better. It's not really that controversial.
The confidence in Joseph Woll, who has not played in a while, who's just waiting, who's got that energy and that feel of I'm going to come in here and I'm going to kick ass. I mean, that's a gift to Berube. It's just a matter of when do you go to it.
And I mean, much like a, baseball manager or it's about the feel. And it's not just numbers. It's about your eyes. It's about the feel. It's about feeling the flow of the series and when you pull the trigger. Because once you pull the trigger, it's really hard to go back the other way, is it not?
Yeah.
Right?
The general feel is that you do it and a guy gets blown out. But that to me would be the least of Craig Berube's worries.
Yeah.
Is that Joseph Woll comes in and is worse.
Right.
Or it stinks.
Yeah.
Can I tell you?
I don't see that.
Yeah. Weird stat of the day for me is, Gustav Forsling is their best defenseman, plus 33. Lundell and Lustrainen were both plus 17 around that. Bennett and Verhaeghe, minus 15 and minus 14 for them this year.
Wow. You just named the 2 best defensemen for Florida. Give me the best defenseman on the Leafs and the second best.
Well, I know Morgan Riley's is hot garbage.
Tanev.
Who's their best defenseman?
Tanev.
Yeah.
Who's
No
their most
question.
important defenseman?
Chris Tanev.
Second.
All right.
Jake McCabe.
Third.
Simone Benoit. No, I think it's Morgan Riley.
Tanev and McCabe, plus 31, plus 23.
Yeah.
Ekman
I've
Larson, plus
I've
14.
McCabe fourth.
McCabe or Riley
sorry,
fourth?
Riley fourth.
Yeah.
I have
Riley ended
Riley
up
fourth.
-8.
I
He
have-
scrapped and clawed his way back, boys.
Wow, he got back in there.
He's fourth going into this series for me. Most important defenseman on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
After
wild.
Carlo is
After
third?
Carlo.
Huh.
Can he get himself back up in this series?
Yeah, it's a fair question. You know, he's produced offense for them in the playoffs past. Can he be there? Can he be important?
Thought he was good early in the series, and it kind of looked a little bit like the regular season later in the series. But so, are we doing a pick now, or are we going to wait for the national hour to pick our number?
The series?
Yeah,
Do it now.
you go first, Mr.
live.
You go first, Mr. Kypreos.
I'll take Florida in 7.
Justin,
You know, I feel like it's either Florida in 6 or Leafs in 7, and I want to represent positivity on our
Yep.
show, so give me Leafs in 7.
I listened back to our picks from the first round today because I'll bring it up with you guys in the national hour, and I picked the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the Stanley Cup. So it'd be pretty hard for them to do that and lose this series. So give me the Leafs in 7.
All right.
7 games
There
all
you
around.
go. Are we ready for a break?
Yeah, let's hit a break.
Okay, we'll hit a break. When we return, Bill Lindsay, former NHLer, covers the Panthers as a color analyst. We'll get his thoughts on what the Maple Leafs can expect tonight against the Stanley Cup defending champions. That and more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the program. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. We'll welcome in Bill Lindsay as soon as he's set up shop here. And he's going to give us all the secrets on how to beat the Florida Panthers.
If anyone had them, they would be very valuable. What do you think MLSE would pay for the secret to beat the Florida Panthers? 10 mil?
It is quite shocking that they shut down Kucherov and Point.
Very shocking.
Like,
To me, Kucherov's as unshutdownable as there is. He's deceptive and sneaky and competitive. You know, he has his moments, but I don't know. It's concerning about the Florida's defense.
there was that one thought that Hedman did, by the way, play with a broken leg. Like, first of all, like, there is a part of me that just,
Is there not
like,
someone else?
The media can't wait to figure out who's like hurt or not hurt. And they're ready to put a picture of a guy with a wrap around his ankle. And I'm like, but that's on every day for the last 3 years of his career,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. You guys got a tensor bandage. Woo.
Okay, let's welcome in Bill Lindsay, former NHLer, covering the Panthers as a color analyst, does a great job. Bill, thanks for joining us, man. How are you? We were just speaking seconds ago about the Florida Panthers taking down the likes of Kucherov, who is regarded at times as one of the best players on the planet. And, there's Leaf fans wondering, like, oh, God, they did that to Kucherov and Point. What could they do to Marner and Matthews here? But what did you see in that series that made it look so easy against Tampa Bay?
For the most part, sorry, got things moving on.
No problem. You'll figure it
I'll
out.
score myself up. There we go. For the most part, what I saw in that series against Tampa Bay is that Paul Maurice, with the rest down the stretch for the players, he was making sure coming into this postseason that everyone was going to be healthy, 100% ready to go. He didn't matter about the standings. And you could see that defensive structure and that style that they wanted, that it was on point. So he wasn't concerned about where they were going to finish. He understood that being healthy for that game number 83 was going to be okay. And talked to him going down to the stretch. He said, we're absolutely fine. We've been losing some games, but everyone's coming back. We're looking to be raring to go, and we are fitting to be right where we need to be come game number 83. And it all resolves around that defensive structure for the Panthers and what they try to do. So against Kucherov and against Point, it's time and space. Don't give them a lot of room. They're one of the best teams at controlling speed through the middle of the ice. They make you dump the puck in, and then it becomes a battle of attrition along the walls. If you don't have the willingness to play along the walls and win 50-50 puck battles, it can be really hard, and that's what they were able to do against Kucherov. Point. Gensel was pretty good, but for the most part, you were able to limit the damage.
How does this version of the Florida Panthers stack up with the two teams that won and went to a Stanley Cup final?
Pretty good. We had to see where everyone kind of fit in with all the pieces, and we're still waiting for Ekblad. We had him for a couple of games. Going to miss him for this game of the opening series, but waiting for what Marchand and this whole team and Jones, and waiting for the injured players to kind of recover, and Tkachuk. What would it look like when they got into the postseason? How healthy would they be? And once they got there, you could see that there's that instant chemistry that they developed along the way. There's a potential that this team is maybe better than the last couple of years. It's been a long, hard battle that they've had to fight through with all of that. But potentially this team has the potential to be better.
That would be bad.
Oh, yeah,
That
we
would
don't
be
want to
bad
hear
news.
that.
That wasn't helpful.
Stop
Bill.
that talk right now, Bill.
Sorry, I got this phone moving all over.
Buddy, all that matters is what you're saying right now. And in terms of this reputation, most penalized team, Craig Berube was asked the other day, how mean are they? And yes, we see it out of Bennett and Tkachuk, and then they added Marchand. But outside of that, right? Outside of those three names, are they really that mean as a club as a whole?
There's a toughness throughout the group, a meanness, and Nick is about as good as anyone. That once you have that insulated that starts with Bennett, there's a team toughness and a team bond. And if you want to beat the Panthers, they're going to hit you, but you're gonna have to earn it. They're going to take a piece off you, and that's kind of their mentality. That they want to wear you down. The physical. I would say it's partially mean, but it's a whole built-in concept of the club of where they're designed to play under Paul Maurice, that they built into this system. You got to dump pucks in. You got to hit everything in sight. You got to play this defensive brand. And then there's the chatter with guys like Marchand and Bennett that just kind of goes into that. Mean, I wouldn't say naturally overly mean, but I would say team toughness is really, really the strength of this team.
So the no team has playoff success without great goaltending. Bob, everyone in Toronto was hoping he would get worse over the last 2 years. He hasn't. How'd he look in round one, and what's the evolution of his season been like?
He looked good in round one, made the stops when needed to. That's the thing about Sergei Bobrovsky. Critical stops at the times when you need it. And there were certain points, inflection points in that series that he was better than Vasilevsky when it came. And this is a perfect example. We have a 3-2 lead here. They're starting to press into that period in the second, and just two dramatic saves that you couldn't ask for. And the Panthers were trying to hang on to this. We're finally able to extend that lead in large part of the goaltending of Sergei Bobrovsky. He doesn't care if it's 4-3, 4-4, 1-0. It's on about the next goal, and I love that mentality about him. He is able to shake anything off. He's been a veteran, been around it for a long, long time.
Oh, man, those last couple of saves against Tampa Bay were absolutely lights out. So what version are we going to see out of Seth Jones? Because the Leaf fans want to see the one that was like minus 1,000 in Chicago.
Yeah. Seth Jones, he's done a good job of eating minutes with Ekblad out. We're glad that we have them and have that kind of ability to do that. But with Ekblad back, preferably Seth Jones gets down around 22, 23 minutes a night. We'll see if he continues to quarterback that number one power play. But Seth Jones is fit in. He's not trying to do too much. What you've seen in Chicago is a lot of minutes, a lot of time in his own end. With the Panthers, you don't have to spend as much time into your own zone. That allows Seth Jones to kind of freewheel, get up on the ice, get up on the attack, do his thing, and have a little bit more energy throughout the course of the game. And that's ideally where you want it. If he gets paired, once Ekblad gets back with Mikola's 6'6", Jones is 6'4". You got a really strong pairing that can skate well, long reach, defend. So I'm not sure that you're going to see the Seth Jones in Chicago. There's the motivator cuff has been put back on. It might have been torn a little bit. It might have been torn a little bit in Chicago, but it's gotten stitched up, and it's all better for Seth Jones.
That's too bad. Well, that is a very concerning thing for the Leafs, because he can be a very helpful. The way he skates, he's a nice player. Not sure he plays a huge role. And the last thing I wanted to ask you about was just the penalty kill of Florida. Regular season, they were 10th But at net PK, they were 5th, meaning when they scored, they must score some shorthanded goals along the way. How threatening are they on the penalty kill with the addition of Marchand and everyone else there?
Yeah, they did score a lot of those shorthanded goals were early in the year.
Yeah.
And Reinhart was involved in that. But with the addition, the penalty killer is deeper and better because you addressed it not only with Marchand, but Nico Sturm. And what happens now with the penalty kill rotation is that it's not always Barkov and Reinhart. They will get out there. They will be put in certain situations. But you're going to see Sturm and Luo Serenen come over the boards first, almost all the time. So that's the one big change. And then Lundell, Marchand a lot, and then Reinhart and Barkov kind of when you need them. So that kind of slots into that area where you can save some ice. And it's for Barkov and Reinhart, where you don't have to quite push them as far. When you need them, they're out there to do the job. But the additions of Sturm and Marchand has really, really lengthened out what you're able to do rotation-wise. You can go 6 deep into a rotation now with no problem, where maybe before it was 4, and occasionally you would go into that 5-6 combination on the penalty kill.
Bill, one more for me, and we're running out of time, unfortunately, but I want to ask you about the team toughness. Of course, there's a phrase that goes around the RCMP when they get they're attacking criminals. It's they always get their man. Is that what happened to Hagel with the Florida Panthers? And is there a message to the Leafs or anyone else that plays them?
I don't know. You go after the captain, something's going to happen. I'm not sure Ekblad went in there with the intent. I can't get into a player's head, and Ekblad's not going to tell you that thing. But we understand that if you go after a player like a Barkov, there is going to be some sort of pushback from our squad. And you don't want players to sit out and go headhunting. Ideally, like Hagel said, just get out there, drop the gloves, kind of sort it out that way, the old-fashioned way. And that's the way our team normally does things, is that we're just going to settle it. We'll, if you want to, that was over the edge. They did go after a bad hit against Hagel, but that in playoff time is kind of going to have to be dialed back. And if you are to sort things out, I hope it goes, if there ever is that kind of situation again, that it gets done immediately. And just, it doesn't have to, we have enough players that can walk over to Hagel and say, let's solve this, drop the gloves, let's get it over with, and put that behind us.
Looking forward to game 1 tonight, Bill. And looking forward to talking to you again maybe throughout the series a little later. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks. I'm a beauty on this iPhone thing.
You're doing great, buddy.
Thanks.
I just crazy, but I appreciate it. Enjoy it.
All right.
Appreciate your time. Thanks.
That is former National Hockey Leaguer Bill Lindsay, over 700 games in the NHL.
Yeah, you're not expected to be an IT guy where you're an NHL hockey player.
Guess we just could have called him. Feel bad now.
Starting out the phone. It worked.
It's always nice to see a pretty face.
8 p.m. puck drop.
Yes. And this
Why is it? Why again?
Well,
Tell me.
because it's now regarded as maybe one of the greatest ping pong ball show in history. The lottery.
No comment on the rest
The
of it.
the NHL lottery show, right?
Hey, listen, this
ping
is going to
pong
be
balls.
Yeah,
Who doesn't want to watch ping pong balls?
buddy.
I would love to watch it tonight on Sportsnet.
Yes,
7:00.
Can't wait to watch those
I-
ping pong balls.
I believe the New York Islanders have at least a ball of ping pong in there, so I'll tune in.
Could the draft lottery be an email?
Well, I appreciate them wanting to make things an event that are eventable.
Sure.
But it is tough to celebrate the teams who really stunk and often on
Buddy,
purpose.
don't take away
The Sharks again.
Bill Daly's. This
Sorry,
is
Bill.
Bill Daly's show.
Sorry, Billy.
Maybe the
boy.
Red
the
Wings will
cards?
land a Hail Mary. Are they anywhere near it?
Don't you remember they flipped the card up before commercial break and let out the first pick or something? Didn't that happen a few years ago?
Yeah, there
I
was
think that was
some.
the Oscars. They got the wrong. They got the wrong movie.
Talking about Janet Jackson's outfit, Super Bowl.
Ping pong balls.
Maybe
Oh.
Bill Daly will have a malfunction with his wardrobe tonight. Maybe that'll help get the ratings up.
It would.
Okay, don't go away. Steve Valiquette, our favorite on a Tuesday. Clear Sight Analytics. We'll get the Connor Hellebuyck story. I got Connor Bedard on my
Can't
mind.
wait to
We got
talk
lots
about
to
Connor
say.
Bedard.
We're going to talk about Connor Bedard as well. So much more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. We are ramping it up here on the Real Kyper and Bourne show as we step into round 2 in the National Hockey League. Welcome to the National Hour on Real Kyper and Bourne. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary, right across your Sportsnet platforms. This hour, Real Kyper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. In a few minutes, we'll welcome in Steve Valiquette, analyst with the Rangers, CEO, Clearsight Analytics, with his regularly scheduled Tuesday.
On a Monday.
On a Monday.
It's Monday. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not Tuesday.
That's why I thought it was Tuesday.
Can we now?
Nothing gets by me.
Can we please talk about Jets now, or are we? I felt bad not saying the whole hour.
Yes.
We will get
Jets
into Jets talk. And, of
Oh, my
course,
God.
Connor Hellebuyck will lead Valley's, I'm sure, shtick. But by all regards here, go at it here. Where do you, first of all, as bad as Hellebuyck was in the series, it pales in comparison to just the overall entertainment value we had last night.
They overcame every hurdle thrown at them. They had the potential Hart Trophy winning goaltender play not very well, and they overcame it. They had injuries to Scheifele. They had injuries to Morrissey, Ehlers, Velarde. They had those beatings in St. Louis. They were down with 2 minutes left. They won the series.
They played
incredible.
so hard. And they, like, Pionk's not the biggest guy, but even prior to the game-winning goal, I'm watching this guy go get pucks back. I'm watching him rub out bigger guys than him along the walls and then coming up with pucks and then skating them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this guy was not to be denied, as many of his teammates felt, I'm sure.
Pionk highlight pack. What a block there. That was great.
And then the poke check.
Really good. Really good.
He
got that by him.
He was all MVP world for me last night.
Most minutes in a game played by a defenseman in a playoff game since 1999.
The game-winning goal
46.
went off of Lowry's pant leg.
It did. Pant leg.
Yeah.
Did?
Yeah.
I've watched it 100 times.
It was fairly subtle,
double
but
tip.
there's no question that it changed directions a couple times.
Yeah.
I didn't think, like, they got that bounce in the, what did they get the 3-2 goal?
Off Suter's stick with about 2 minutes left.
Like, I thought they didn't have.
That was a power play, was it not?
No, was it? I don't think so.
It was a goalie out. I think it was just goalie.
The goalie out.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're
Like,
right.
That was a very Leafy Game 7. Like, just the way that felt with the two softies, or even 3 softies. You want to have the argument with Hellebuyck, them not being able to generate much, them not being able to score. They get the bounce. They get right on the offensive. And what can you say about that tip, man? That tip was unbelievable. The first one's amazing, and then the Perfetti one to tie it.
That the puck, when it goes back to Ehlers with about 6 seconds left, and he doesn't panic slap the second one,
Yes.
and he whips it through the seam. Incredible. This tip, by the way, 100 pucks, I don't think you could do it. If you sat there with 100
Me?
pucks, I don't think you could do
No,
it.
I could, 1,000 bucks.
And all the credit to Cole Perfetti for sure here, but like Kyle Connor has to sell it, and he has to put enough mustard on it, and it has to be flat, right? The redirect doesn't happen unless the puck's in a certain spot, flat. Like,
Really good.
that Kyle Connor here, you're first of all, wingers aren't supposed to lead in scoring. It's supposed to be your centerman. And we're going to get into Rantanen a little later because we're going to have a really good conversation on Rantanen. I promise you that.
Yeah.
But between him and Connor now, they lead the league in scoring here. And wingers aren't supposed to do that, but these guys are so good.
Connor's unbelievable.
You
So
don't,
fast.
to your point.
He's also defensively at times.
To your point, you don't expect a pass there.
No.
There's 3 seconds after the game. You're selling out.
I don't know if he fanned on it or if he meant to do it or what.
You're expecting that puck to go towards the net. Even Falk, he didn't go to the right spot because he's not expecting.
Right.
Watch where he goes. Like, he's expecting a shot there.
Yeah, he may be trying to get that just to Perfetti in front and hoping to get a stick on. I mean, by the way, also doesn't touch the back of the net. Straight under the bar.
I can't. I'm a fan. That is, if you're in the building,
That must have been mayhem.
that's the greatest. Like, how can it be better than that? Like, you can go on and you can win games and you could even win the cup. But that moment where you're 3 seconds away from your season being over.
Yeah, that's franchise iconic moment.
That's unbelievable, man. And they're going nuts in there. I'm so like, I don't really get happy for other Canadian fan bases, but I am thrilled for the Jets fans
That's
today.
nice, Sam.
Thrilled.
So
Thrilled.
again, we have to be reminded, like all of this is still the first round.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, of course. But I mean, it doesn't matter what round that is.
No. But if they lose, does it come back like that, cushion the blow?
You always have that, Kip. No
Yeah,
matter
it
what.
helps.
I mean, but you're looking at this like we yelled at each other on Friday about the Ottawa thing, where like you didn't care about it, and I was excited. Fans are allowed to be excited about this thing. That's an all-time sports
that
moment.
they're not excited.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
All I'm just saying is that we are talking about the best team, right?
Yeah, they were the President's Trophy winners.
The best team.
But they didn't have all their horses.
That needed double overtime against a wild card team, and perhaps if they're not on top of their game, they may lose in the second round. I'm sitting there going, is that good enough for the fan base, though, Sammy?
Was that a smoothie that flew up in the air there on that original angle? What was that?
Or
Off the
is this still
Oh, there it
is
is,
there
yeah.
still pressure on this team to go deep?
Of course there is.
Okay.
And I'm sure they shouldn't have been in that. But when you're 3 seconds left in your season and you don't
My
lose,
guy Davis Payne gave it a full fist pump.
Everybody had them written off, right?
they're done.
They were done.
I mean, they're done.
Okay.
That's
Look
insane.
at that.
Good
We
for them,
haven't
man.
yet got into the Connor Hellebuyck story of this series, so let's bring in the ultimate expert on a Monday. Why I thought it was Tuesday, I have
'Cause
no
of Valley.
idea. But it's
What's up,
Valley.
boys?
Valley,
How
that's
are
how
we?
strong your presence is. I just look at you and I go, Tuesday.
Yeah. My reputation enters the room before I do. I got it.
Thanks for joining us. And let's start right away with Connor Hellebuyck and the series that he had. And
Okay.
if you were to look at that numbers today, you would have thought Winnipeg would have gotten swept in 4 straight. Like, how big of a bullet did Connor get, in terms of dodging it and through 19 other guys called teammates?
Yeah, you know what, Kyper? When I was watching him on the bench last night, you can only imagine what was going through his head. And then to come back and have to turn the channel. Can you imagine? He was probably rehearsing what he was going to have to say
No
in the
kidding.
post-game presser, and then have to be able to turn the channel to go out and make a save. He didn't face a lot of high danger or any difficulty in the overtime either. So it wasn't really an opportunity for him to show. St. Louis had one high danger chance in the double overtime. That was it, one. So it really wasn't anything that he could actually lift the team's spirits on. He allowed 11 more goals than he should have during the series. So that's an outrageous number. Nobody's even close to it. When you look at the bottom 5 guys, I actually sent a tweet out to you guys before the show. And the one thing that I was looking at, here it is right there. So when you round up the 10, 5, 7, call it 11, the bottom 5 guys actually, and sorry for Stolarz being on the list, a few red flags about Stolarz. We're going to get there later on. But the top guys, too, like it's an Allmark Vezina Trophy winner, a Vasilevsky Vezina Trophy winner, Hellebuyck multi-Vezinas, another one this year. So the top guys are at the bottom of this list. The guys at the top of the list that, showed well but weren't able to even to press through is Markstrom. Anderson, I don't know where he is right now, if his parachute worked or if he's at 50,000 feet. I don't know where he is. Gustafsson, I thought, was going to have a chance to steal a series because I think that highly of him. And, you can see Binnington there. And, one thing I was really wondering about was just how Hellebuyck was getting beat in this series. And, one thing I did tweet at you guys a few weeks ago that we actually never got around to talking about it was a points of contact picture. And there's different numbers on this sheet of paper that I send to goalies that I work with. And it's a way that you can rehearse making saves. And excuse me, you can do it when you're looking at the net from distance from faceoff dot or distance above faceoff dot, because it's a different save. So when Hellebuyck gets beat by Foxall last night, it's over his glove. And it was the 11th time in the series that he had been beaten over the high glove. One thing that he's doing right now that he must repair for the next round is that he's going down with his right knee first. So he's actually trying to drive his arm up to make a save with momentum rather than when the players get dots down on you using that shoulder and elbow. And he does that during the regular season. So it's just something that he's having difficulty with right now. You'll see his right side. Oh, this is not the play. But anyhow, when you see him allowing the goal that is the Faksa goal, it's one where I'm looking at it and I'm saying, like, there's no way that he can continually make this error and have success in the next round and beyond. I think it's going to be an issue for him. He's getting beat too frequently on the clear-sighted shots.
Yeah, that Faksa one, right?
That's the Joseph goal right here.
But the Faksa one, he's not really square, right? Like he's kind of at an angle and twisting, and it just feels like is this fixable for him? When he goes back and look at tape, can you 3 days from now fix it?
You know what it would be, Borny? It's funny because where he got beat on that goal was really like a warm-up spot for all goalies before practice begins. The one thing you want to establish is that you have a sound standing stance, and then when you go down, you're actually driving both knees down so you can pitch forward. And the fact that he was in a spot where this is the way we would say it if we're looking at video, Borny, practice video. Because you look so big from the perspective of the puck, it's almost like you have to get out of the way for the puck to get by you. And what you're saying is what I'm saying, which he really contorted his body down and around to try and chase that puck, essentially getting out of the way. If you had him standing on his feet with a video camera behind the puck, you'd say there's nowhere to shoot. But if you're trying to get out of the way and momentum and make a save, you can actually physically get your body out of the way and open up net for shots from those angles.
You're watching and listening to Steve Valiquette on this special edition Monday as we start round two. So I didn't like the Joseph goal at all, and I tweeted, pull him, just as simple as that. And
is that the first opinion tweet out of you in like 10 years? I couldn't believe it.
There was the fear that there'd be another bad goal, which there was, I think, with Faksa. Yet they made the decision that go big or go home. This is our guy. And listen, it turned out well enough that he looked and played the part well enough to shut the door and get the win in double overtime. But how hard of a decision is that to pull a guy of that stature out of the net?
Well, I think you lose him for the next round if you're thinking that there's a possibility you get a comeback. I just don't know how well he fares against Dallas. Like, Dallas created so much offense in that series against Colorado. How do you think it's going to go for Hellebuyck? Man, like, look, this is a long road for him. And it's funny because if you look at goalie coaches in the NHL, guys, I really feel like they're mechanics. If they see something off, it usually isn't so glaringly big at this stage of the game. It's, your feet squareness. You might be going down one side early instead of coming down sound. But to me, every play at the net is a mystery. Now, I thought that he did a pretty decent job of looking, let's say, sound or measured in the overtime. But again, he wasn't really called upon. I was waiting for St. Louis just to create one scoring chance, and they just really couldn't break through. They stopped skating. I loved them in the first three periods. And then all of a sudden, they stopped pounding away. And I think they actually let the D off the hook. I mean, they were thin last night. And one thing we talked about a lot with Winnipeg this year during Jets talk is that they don't have the biggest D. And that's one thing that we saw in this series. A lot of rebounds and a lot of broken plays ended up in the back of the net, and it had Hellebuyck swimming a lot. I don't think it's going to be good in this Dallas series. I see there's too much here. Again, I wasn't hanging my hat on Hellebuyck anyway, but now, boy, oh boy, 11 more goals than he should have allowed in the first round. I think that's outstanding that they even won.
The only thing that could help them out then is if the other goalie struggles a little bit too. What are your thoughts on where Oettinger's game is at?
So it's funny. So I was looking at rebounds again because my big thing is that when you lose your posture, you start spitting pucks out a lot. Okay. And this is the naughty list from the first round of rebounds, okay? He had allowed 17 rebounds that resulted in shots on goal, but when your team can come back and help you, you don't always pay a price for a bad rebound. That's the way it works with goaltending. but there were 30 rebounds that he allowed in that first round series where I would like to have him control the puck. Controlling the puck means putting it in the corner, putting it up on the glass, or freezing it, absorbing it, being like Velcro and accepting it, receiving the puck. These are on shots where he has clear view from outside the slot area. That's how you measure a goalie with rebound control. And I'll tell you what, guys, we're going to watch Stolarz tonight. If these are coming off of him, those are the red flags where you're like, okay, he doesn't have his timing. He's not seeing it right now. Pucks are coming off him that should be kept. So any shot where he has clear view tonight, Stolarz, on any shot that he has clear view outside the slot area, that is a puck that's not just stopped, it's controlled. The top 5 guys from worst down: Oettinger in the first round, I said 30, Stolarz with 26, Mackenzie Blackwood, who's out, Kemper, who's out, and Markstrom, who's out. So if you look like a goalie where you're kind of blocking more shots that you should be coming down with, and that's the key. You want to come down with the puck. If it's coming at your body, which is your biggest receiving surface, you should be coming down with the puck. If it's a puck that's at your glove, it should be squeezed. Like you hear in the NFL, if it's touching a receiver's hands, they expect a catch there. Well, you do from your goaltender as well. So I'm going to be looking for that tonight, because that was something where I was a little iffy on Stolarz during the Ottawa series.
Okay, just to stick with Stolarz for a second here, where do you attribute that to? Is it mental? Is it physical? Is it a guy that's never been there before and there's a stress factor here? Has the last few days been enough for you to reset? Would you have ever thought about Joseph Woll in game 1? Where do you want to go?
You know, I didn't think about Woll until Sammy texted to me, and I was pretty quick to say no to that. And then I spent the next 2 days looking at certain things, and I'm kind of on the fence, which means there's a leash here. It's not a short leash, but there's a leash here. Well, let's pay attention to it. I'll start with making sure that he has his timing. If he has his timing, he's going to be able to move out of his save. If he is not receiving the puck on the first save well, he will end up on his stomach or on his ass, both of which are bad news. Or the side, which is also bad news, especially for a big guy. So if he's coming down hard with the puck, making contact, tracking down, moving out of his save, being able to recover and keep his play, those are all very good signs. Rebounds, the ones that I just discussed, should not be coming out. All plays that are at the point, he should be able to battle long enough and fight, because that's where the real battle in this game is. Nobody had more screens last year in the regular season than the Florida Panthers. They're a net front team. They're going to be dogs down there. So it's going to be and they recover pucks better than anybody. Last year, first in offensive zone recovered pucks. This year, first in recovered pucks in the offensive zone, coming off of scoring chances. So they're going to keep coming. And this is going to be a real possession-based series. If they have that ozone time, guys, you know, he's 240 pounds. He's got to beat the pass. That's his game. Explode off the pass. Stop. Push. Stop. If it's below the goal line, he's going to be down in the reverse over and over. Look, if I'm Florida, that's what I'm trying to accomplish with a big guy, to wear him down. It's a boxing match. So, yeah, I'm going to be watching closely, and I'll be available by text. I'll let you know my thoughts.
Sounds like a lot of work doing all that pushing.
I'm exhausted just listening to you.
So we talked.
Man, it's the rule of the game for these guys at this stage, guys. The harder you can work and the smarter you can work before the shot, the easier it's going to be.
That makes me feel like Woll should get games for them too, because it sounds like it's very tiring to play goaltender.
Oh, I've told you, boys. 300 shots during the game, during practices. Believe me, it wears on you all season long.
So we talked Hellebuyck, and then said, "How's the guy across the ice from him?" Just talk Stolarz. How's the guy across the ice from him? What are your thoughts on Sergei Bobrovsky right now?
Come on, he's getting old.
Yeah, he's no good anymore, Valley.
Come on, Valley, give us. He's too old.
All right, Bob, goalie Bob. Here's what I've got for you. Over the gloves, 7 of 11 in the first round. Over the hands. All right, now here's where it's hard, because you need a little bit of time and space to get these chances. Mm-hmm. Tampa only had 10 time and space chances from the slot area in the first round against Florida. It's not easy to get freed up against these guys. That's the challenge. It's not just about getting to Bob. It's can you have the ability to elevate? Now, take this into consideration because I went through this last week. I'm a left-handed shot. When I'm out shooting on the goalies and working with them, I don't want to be out there shooting. I want to train them. I have a righty and typically a lefty that I hire to come out and shoot on these guys. Well, my lefty doesn't show up, and we've got to do one-timers from the left side of the ice on a pass from below the goal line. The drill that we do is the first 3 shots are 5-hole, so the goalie gets the timing. The second group of 3 are anywhere. I'm trying to elevate the puck. Nobody's on me. Nobody's defending me. I'm trying to elevate the puck. Well, it's funny because it dawns on me that it's not that easy just to elevate it. Like I'm trying to get it up and am I using the wrong stick? Do I not have the right posture? I was trying to get the puck up. When I'm seeing a scoring chance right now in the NHL and it's a one-timer like the one I'm describing from low to high into the slot area, sometimes guys don't get it up because they don't have the skill to get it up, as in the case for me, or you just can't because people are clamping down on you and you can't get it up. The point I want to make is that if Bobrovsky faces a shot that's on the ice that is not 5-hole, you are just feeding into his game because he's going to stop all of those. Whether it's an east to west play, it's a one-timer, any scoring chance, even a point shot with a screen, they have to elevate the puck on this guy. Everything has to be up and over the hands. And if they can feel that early in the series, that's going to carry them with some momentum because it's going to be hard to get to him. And stay away from low blocker. Stay away from low blocker. That's his greatest strength. He's got an awesome low blocker. One of the highest save percentages this year was low blocker. So stay away from it would be as much as my message as it is to get them shooting high.
Let's touch base on the goaltending in Edmonton. And
What's going on there?
While Winnipeg never wavered off of their number one goalie, Edmonton did with success. So where is Pickard's future now as a number one goalie in Edmonton?
Yeah, look, it could be short-lived, right? Because Vegas, I think, is going to be a handful for the Edmonton Oilers. And I think it's going to be a terrific series. I think it'll be maybe even an easier series for Adin Hill. I thought Minnesota was outstanding. I thought that they took shot quality to another level. They didn't give them any feelers. When you play against the Edmonton Oilers, they actually do shoot the puck a lot to try and get it back. But in that case, it kind of warms the goalies up. As far as Pickard goes, look, I think that Edmonton, with what they are allowing against, they are going to have to be the only team that is in NHL history, I think we could say, that is going to have to outscore their defensive deficiencies all the way to the final. I don't see it happening. I see Vegas taking this series. I think it's going to be too much for Pickard because Edmonton just isn't even close to what they were doing defensively last year. Check this out too, right, guys? The goals that are going in right now are at like an all-time high. The save percentage in the first round of the playoffs, I don't know if you guys saw this today, it's .894, right?
What?
.894. The regular season save percentage was 90, right? When I started working at MSG and doing the TV gig was 2014-15, the save percentage was .915, and I remember us always talking about reducing the size of the goalie's equipment. We even went on the ice once for a Hockey Night Live show that we produced, and I took the tops, the 2 inches of my pads down. I cut them off. I sacrificed a pair of goalie pads for this episode because I wanted to prove that the timing was perfect at the time where receiving a shot that the goalie could see wouldn't go in unless they were almost forced to go down a little earlier because they didn't have such big pads protecting their 5 holes. I'm trying to say that their timing was impeccable. It was perfect. And what we're seeing right now with the increase of the east to west, which we've talked a lot about over the last 5 years, it's gone up 41%. The one big one that I saw in this first round was broken play goals, up 31% from last year during the playoffs, broken play goals. Now, if you remember the goal that Minnesota scored, it was Hartman on the half wall, Kaprizov was at the far post, and he didn't throw it on net at Adin Hill. He threw it 6 feet away from the net, but across the crease, and it went off Kaprizov's chest and in. We've seen a lot of those broken play goals by design. Coaches refer to this as aiming for, I can't even use the word because we're on television, but let's just call it poo pile. Okay. But that's what it is. And that's the message in the room. And it's, if the goalie can see you and you can see him, aim to the pile at the side of the net. And the most dangerous, uncomfortable, miserable feeling is when a player like the Hartman example, or goes to the corner and just throws it wide. And I mean wide net front, not on net. Part of the reason why Winnipeg scores the way they do last night, I know it's a missed shot, but it does get to that net front 6 feet away from the net. And guys, those are a nightmare. And I think that that's a big reason why we're seeing these plays end up in the back of the net more frequently. In the first round, we saw Binnington give up 7 broken play goals. Hellebuyck gave up 7 broken play goals. Hill gave up 6, Oettinger 6, Kemper 6. Last year in the postseason, in the first round, Vasilevsky allowed 5. But then nobody else was in that same neighborhood. There was a couple 3s, couple 2s. Right. But I mean, it's a big increase, and people are doing it by design. So it's really is, if we're talking about changing the game. And then back to Florida, just in how it relates to how they create offense, I think this is important too, because we've seen a spike in shooting percentage off of the forecheck. Right now, the best way to score in the playoffs is creating off the forecheck. The shooting percentage is 22.4%. And it's because teams are getting in, they're getting you early, and you're losing your structure, and then they're zipping you east to west. And that's one area that's going to be really important tonight in this game, is not allowing Florida to get in on their forecheck.
Is the cycle making a comeback? The pinwheel?
Bring back the Sedines.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what, guys. When it comes to goal scoring, I am astonished at how little comes from out of corner right to net.
Really?
Like grade A's just don't, everything, it's almost like the cemetery in there. Everything dies if it doesn't get out quickly. And I've heard coaches refer to that as the cemetery.
So Logan Thompson, Washington versus Freddie Anderson. We don't have to really.
But what's the update on Freddie?
Is Freddie alive or is
no?
it
Freddie's good to go.
He's good to go.
Yeah, he's good to go. He was on with Gord Stellick this morning. I caught it.
Okay.
You recover from the nudge?
He was.
Yes. Oh yeah, he's good. He's good
Really?
to go.
The maitre d', the maitre d' to the
been on the
table.
ice, he said, and it sounded like he's really, well, no, he's never really sounded excited in his whole life, but for him it was excitement.
Hey, speaking of guys that folded like a cheap suit in the first round, how's your boy Allmark, Sammy?
Oh my God.
Thanks, Valley. I needed that, buddy.
So let me get this straight. He wanted to go to the World Championships with Sweden, and they said no.
No, I didn't hear that news.
No, you didn't hear that?
I did hear that.
I didn't hear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they have a couple other
They're-
Swedish goalies, and
Well, knock one out if like he's an $8.5 million goalie.
That
like,
says
how
a
do you?
lot. That says a lot right there. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it's
can tell you
interesting.
one thing. Sammy, so I'll share this with you guys. Sammy was nervous during the game, right? So he's texting me and he's trying to get a feel for if I think Allmark's going to, pull this off. And I just told Sammy, I was like, Sammy, he wants it to be over. Just relax. He wants it to be over.
He was right. He said he's going to steal one, and then he's going to want it to be over. You couldn't have nailed it more. So thank you, Valley.
Exactly.
he was
Hey, and
cursing
by the
you and
way,
texting me when he was stealing one, though. I did get those texts.
I want you to do this just so I want you guys to know this for the future. When you look at the third goal, the game winner, Clevin skates through Allmark, and his hand is still out there trying to let everybody know that he was screened after it went in. It's the biggest poser move of all time. Like just holding it out there, just letting it marinate. What are you doing? It was like a 3-second count.
Don't sugarcoat it on our show. Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, I know. That's why I always get myself in trouble.
You certainly do, and it's no better place to do it than our show.
Thanks, buddy.
Valley, great stuff on a Monday, buddy. Enjoy the second round, and we'll speak next week.
All right, boys. Enjoy. Take care.
Appreciate
All
it,
right.
Valley. Thanks a lot,
There it
man.
is. The one, the only, Steve Valiquette.
11 more goals than expected
That's
for
too many.
Hellebuyck.
You shouldn't.
11.
You shouldn't give up that many.
Yeah. You surprised his feelings on Stolarz dropping a little bit of the energy that he's accustomed to seeing?
I've been a Stolarz guy since the first game of the first preseason game. I've loved him.
So,
But I totally see where he's coming from.
but you
I-
got to give him the benefit of the doubt.
He has to start
That's
tonight,
kind of where we're
right?
at. Is like I would like to see Wool get in and he's fresh and all that, but you just have to go with the guy who won you a series.
Yeah, like I guess you've mentioned this, so maybe it doesn't matter, but I just think the perception of going to Wall in game one of this series and having it, and you don't think this could happen, but having it be putrid, and then the questioning that would
going,
come.
what are you doing?
Why did you do that?
Yeah.
Right? But you think that shouldn't matter. That's what you're going to say.
I just think you're the coach and you have
made your decision. You got to live with it.
Your part of your job is to forecast some of this before it becomes a story.
Yeah, that's literally your role. Is the guy,
right?
You're in the line of fire.
You're supposed to get ahead of this.
Yeah.
And if you feel like it's coming on, and that's part of the feeling of Hellebuyck, like to have left Hellebuyck in on so many occasions, including 2 other bad blown games by him, is something that could have easily come back to haunt them.
Yes.
And it didn't. Good on them. Move on. He gets the ultimate career-saving mulligan.
Bail it.
Tee it up
Bail it.
again, son.
Like, where
Have
is he
another one.
today if they lost 3-2 last night?
Oh, my God.
I don't know. If you're Winnipeg, are you doing like can we trust this guy? Do we have to trade him? Like what's becoming of?
That's all that's going on in Winnipeg today if they found a way to lose.
Yeah.
Well,
But
They didn't.
they didn't. And he gets another chance at
Also,
Dallas.
just like to say that Nick Ehlers ruled.
and
I'll throw that in.
Valley mentioned that the Blues didn't. I mean, they look like a team that gave up a soul-crushing goal to end that game. Like they had a couple.
Winnipeg
They
dominated.
had a couple moments in overtime where it felt like they maybe had a chance, but they just didn't have the punch. And like
I know Kevin Bieksa touched on this, but my first thought was like those stupid icings. Like when did icings become
God.
like having as casual as a beer?
Right. They
What
flipped,
is
they
going
flipped that one
on?
out for his teammate to skate onto, and the game's over. But he takes a shot, ices the puck.
yeah,
Like eventually, like they're set plays.
Situational.
They're set plays off of losing a draw. You have a 50-50 chance if you got a decent centerman, maybe a little bit more, of creating a set play off a face-off in the offensive zone. That is a gift to you.
Yeah.
Why would you give that up so easily? This has got to stop. I don't get it.
Leafs are really guilty of it.
They're
They shoot.
pre-programmed that you shoot now. You shoot now.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. You're trying to win the game. And
Right.
if that involves a minute and a half, take a shot.
Byfield said today he's going to be thinking about all summer what happened.
What was on
so
the
maybe
clock?
he should have cleared it.
1.8?
1.6.
1.6. Like you couldn't,
1.6.
over the course of 60, you couldn't have found another way to burn 1.6 off the clock. You left it on the clock.
Boards and out would have cut it. Boards and out would have done the trick.
I can't imagine what those guys are feeling like today. That's just that there's nowhere. That's way worse than
It
Leafs.
probably doesn't feel as bad when you didn't think you had a cup shot.
Sure,
You know,
but like
but
I
it
mean,
still hurt.
let me tell you, as a
Who
fan of
didn't
a
have a cup shot?
I don't think St. Louis is in that
Oh,
group.
they had a cup shot. No, I'm telling you, they're right in there.
All right.
That Bennington,
he was great in
oh
overtime.
my God, he was
a gamer.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That goaltender could have given you a chance against Dallas or Vegas or Edmonton. I'm telling you, St. Louis was right there.
You blew it.
I kind of wanted the Canadian goalie to get it.
Of course
again.
you do.
I did, but I was rooting for the
Canadian
Jets.
team.
I'm sorry,
No.
Listen,
No.
I'm-
Canadian team over Canadian goalie.
I'm really
Stop
hoping
it.
that Connor Hellebuyck can build on his incredible first round all the way to starting for Team America in the Olympics next year. I'm really hoping for that. Anyways, it's game time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So the 4 series are set, as we know, and the series numbers, the Carolina Hurricanes are, to me, surprisingly huge favorites.
Yeah.
What do you think? Their number, they are minus 180.
Over the Capitals?
Yes, they are.
The
They are
Capitals
minus,
finished second in the league this
they,
year?
they are minus 180. The Caps in that series are a plus 150 underdog, which to me is a pretty surprising number.
I would take that.
Again,
You guys don't think Carolina's going to win the series, do you?
I haven't decided. I think we can maybe do some picks, but
All right, we'll pick later.
I think it's 2 very different styles. That could be a fascinating matchup. I have really no idea. Edmonton Oilers versus Vegas Golden Knights, a lot closer. Minus 105 for the Oilers, minus 115 for the Vegas Golden Knights. Leafs, just as big of underdogs as the Washington Capitol are, according to Bet365, plus 150 in this series. Florida, minus 180. So that's
Big dogs.
hopefully Berube's showing them our Bet365 segment.
They got the nobody believed in us card for the first time in a while.
And the Winnipeg Jets go into their series with the Dallas Stars as big dogs, plus 145. The President's Trophy winning team, plus 145 underdogs going up against the Dallas Stars, who are minus 170. And boy, they seem like they could be a bit of a wagon.
Heroes coming back.
Getting Jason Robertson back. That's maybe not the team you want to face. Anyways, that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. It's 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, we'll catch our breath, pay a few bills, and when we return, plenty of NHL news and notes, including last night, one of the biggest breaking news during the Winnipeg-St. Louis game was John Garrett announcing that Sidney Crosby's going to the World Championships.
That was a remarkable moment. Where John was just like, I read this is happening. And
he read it. I thought he broke the news.
Ryan was like, yeah, that is happening.
Jets fans like, oh my God.
It is an interesting fact.
I love it.
LA Kings need a new general manager.
Nice scoop there, Scoopsy.
And we still got to get into Rantanen, which now may be regarded as one of the more memorable, worst trades in NHL history.
Doesn't usually come back at you that fast.
We will get into that when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the program. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, and Sammy McKee. I think Mark Messier's got enough material for his Game 7 production company.
Wow, good call.
Man.
Okay. Mikko Rantanen.
Oh my God.
What are they saying? The moose is on the loose was the phrase. 11 points in the last 3 games.
First hat trick in the third period of a Game 7 in NHL history.
The first thing I thought of when they closed the game out was like this is Mark Messier for me all over again. Just one guy to give you the feel that it ain't over until I say it's over. And he did not guarantee the win, but that was the only thing missing when I compared it to Mark Messier's hat trick, which was not in the third period. And this one was the first one in NHL history in a Game 7 third period.
This is like the stuff you wake up from a dream from and go, oh, I wish that was real. Like you get traded and have your heart ripped out over how much money we don't know, but we don't think it was a ton. And they trade you to Carolina, and Carolina ships you back to the division rival, and you do that to them in Game 7. And now it's like they're talking about firing the GM. Like, there's articles. I read Arif Dean wrote one that said this should cost McFarland his job in Colorado. Like, you got revenge so swiftly. It's almost never been done before.
That is the most singular backfire moment maybe in sports history. Like there's been
McKinnon's just like, what just happened?
There's been tons of trades that are awful and have worked out bad for teams, but to have it be like that, can you?
La histoire du hockey.
I can't remember
nothing like
They're
that.
up
2-0 in the
The game
third
was
period.
over. They had nothing going. And then Rantanen splits the puck in 2 on the bar, going bar down so hard, and then it's on.
It's on.
I know I know a lot of people are pointing to Chris McFarland on this, but everything that I've gathered is that it does fall. The decision to move Rantanen needs to fall on Joe Sakic owning that decision.
How come?
He's the president. He's the one in charge. He's the one that decided that we are better off without him than with him.
But then you're neutering all GMs and saying you're rendering them all lame ducks if they can't make decisions, and it comes down to the president.
No, they can make decisions, but this one was one of the most important decisions. And whether you're any other president, Cam Neely in Boston, Brendan Shanahan in Toronto, Joe Sakic, Stevie Yzerman, the buck stops with you. You want to trade a superstar for your team. That
All right,
ultimately lands on the president's desk. And it just goes back. Like all this loss does now for Colorado fans is want to go back and go, like, what the heck happened here?
That's how I feel right now. And it was the next thing I was going to say. Is like, I need a 30 for 30, like a behind the scenes. And like, how do you get to we're better without Rantanen?
That's the ultimate decision that Joe Sakic made. He did not feel moving forward that this guy
was a true difference.
Was a true difference maker. And I think this is just a lesson for a lot of people. And maybe Joe bought into this, that he's not that good. And listen, you watch him in Carolina and then you watch him early in Dallas, and there are legitimate questions like, what's going on here? But the ones that really believed that this guy was only good because of Nate McKinnon have no idea about these type of players and the effect that they can have on a hockey club. This guy does not do what he's done for 7 or 8 years in Colorado, make himself one of the best wingers in the game today, be at the peak of his career at age 27 and 28, and then fall off the face of the earth.
No.
It does not happen, people. It does not happen. And it's not because Nate McKinnon, he's playing with Nate McKinnon. This guy went to Carolina, which he never wanted to go, because he was brokenhearted, man. That's not where he wanted to be. He had no illusions of ever being there longer than he had to be to get him to free agency, and it affected his play.
Sure, that's understandable. And Kip, this guy didn't have a year. Who was it? Chichu had 55 one year or something like that? Or
Oh, yeah, when he played with Thornton.
yeah, and it was like, that's not this. He had 92 points, 105 points, 104 points. If you think McKinnon helped him, okay, he helped him 20 points. Now he's a 90-point player or whatever. It's like at 6'4", 220.
With 12 points in the first round, now up to 113 points in 88 playoff games.
So the 30-30 that you're talking about would go back, and it would tell the story of a guy that never wanted to leave there and what he did to want to stay there.
So what is it, McKinnon's number? Was that the thing? They didn't want to pay him more than McKinnon?
Quite possibly, but he had made it clear to them that it didn't have to. The story that I had heard, that the agents set the market at $13 million.
Right.
They stuck predominantly for the whole season at Pasternak's number, 11-2.
Okay.
You're Pasternak, buddy. That's what they told him, 11-2. Okay.
And he's going, Pasternak's underpaid,
The agents are going $13 million. The agents are also saying low 80s on the salary cap when he signed. This guy's in the mid-90s. Okay. The bar's moved. It's not 11-2. And then I believe that their last offer came in around 11-6. And now the agents are at 13, or Rantanen's at 13 on a fair market price for him. And then Rantanen got involved. He went back to the office and said, I am flexible. We can work this out. And then 48 hours to 72 hours later, traded to Carolina.
Oh, my.
The number he signed with in Dallas is 12. And I understand there's a tax difference, but give him 12.5.
He would have signed at 12 all day long. I'm telling you.
That is fireable to me.
All day long. I can sit here with a straight face and look at both of you and said, that same contract would have got it done in Colorado.
Oh,
And
my God.
you know what, though? You know what's going to happen if that's understood in the dressing room? You're going to lose Nate McKinnon.
Do you understand that it is understood? Did you hear Nate's comments after the game?
So I don't know what we're going to do.
We lost to a team without their best defenseman and their best forward. I don't know what we're going to do. That's
And my best friend who put
You
a
know who
gang
needed
in
a
your
player
life.
like they had?
I don't know what you guys are going to do.
Trade for Sid. That help?
He is pissed. Nate today is pissed.
You know, it's like franchise-altering stuff because McKinnon is so competitive, and he just watched the very guy that he needed, traded from his team, and then beat him in the prime of his career.
They were magic together.
And
they were absolutely magic together.
You know, you might have to do something in terms of making a change above him to keep him happy. Because if he is very, as upset as I think he might be at McFarland or Sakic or whomever, you don't want him to be like, well, then, you know, you guys messed us up so bad, I just can't look you in the eye.
He's still, in all honesty, he's underpaid at 12.
Of course he is. He was underpaid. I was thinking that this morning too.
He's underpaid
how
at
is
12.
he again underpaid?
So Colorado thinks, get him out of the division, right? Get him out of the West. We're going to send him to Carolina. He goes to Carolina, and now he's had no intentions of really signing there. They found that out. Now they got to move him. There's only 2 places he can go to, Dallas and Toronto. Toronto had the room, and the Toronto had the assets. And for those of you that think that it was just Mitch Marner or bust, not true. Multiple offers, multiple assets were offered. You know what Rantanen says? I'm going to Dallas. You know why I want to go to Dallas? Because I want to jam it down Colorado's throat. I want them, not only do I want to play them in the playoffs, I want to go in for the next 8 years into that organization 3 times a season. And they got to look at me because I'm coming after them. Jeez. Those were his words in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Well, he said something when he skated by the bench, too, which I'm sure was pretty impassioned. Yeah.
Damn.
That's Mikko Rantanen.
Oh, I don't know if you saw it or not, but Sid would have gone to the World Championship.
Hey, how mad do you think McFarland and Sakic are at Tulski for trading him right back into their eyeball, which they obviously intended not to do?
Too bad.
I understand it.
You lost you let the asset
You know what
go.
that is? That's a lesson for every general manager
You trade a guy, you lose the right to complain about where he ends up.
It was just like the perfect storm that went against, that looked like it was okay for them and then turned around and just bit them.
Sure did.
That was amazing. That was an amazing.
It's a fascinating story that it should come out.
Best game 7.
It should come out in a 30 for 30.
Can I say, though, I mentioned a little bit in the Leafs Hour, the call on Jack Drury in the third period at that point of the game was a war crime.
Didn't care for it.
Are you kidding me? It's game 7. He got a little tug on him. They both fall to the ice, and you set up the power play, and he shoots it in the net immediately. That was an insanely bad call.
Yeah.
Insanely bad call.
Insanely bad call.
So it was Jack Drury, you say, huh?
Right?
How'd they end up with him?
Oh. Ouchie.
Yes.
As a reminder, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. So I don't know if it's was a really well-kept secret.
You got 90 seconds.
That Rob Blake, we're going to part ways. So Rob Blake all this time was signing 1-year deals, eh?
Really?
So, and it was always presented to him as, you know, anytime you want to spend more time with your family or go in a different direction, you have that flexibility. So, not sure we should be too surprised.
Yeah, that makes some sense.
World Championships,
Yep.
Marc-Andre Fleury going. He won't retire.
Gosh, got to keep playing hockey.
Do you know what he said?
I don't think he likes his family. That's what I think.
You know what he said? He said, I went home. The kids were a little crazy.
Yeah, he's World Championships.
See ya.
He's
Maybe I
in
should
the
play
Swiss
longer.
A-League next year.
All right, round 2. Toronto Maple Leafs, Florida Panthers, right here on the network. Do not go away. Enjoy your night, and we're back tomorrow on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.